Howdy. I suppose I'm the one to turn off the AC. Stop. There we go. All right. It's another Tuesday. There are only a few of these left. I am moving to Arkansas. So sadly, I will be moving away from the lovely Fact TV studio and the talented people, dedicated folks behind the scenes who make it happen. So thanks to you all. All right. Until a few people get into the chat and give me some things to talk about, I'm going to follow a link that Colin sent me, or Hikane sent me. You can go to the laptop in there. I was wrong. Young Turk's Kasparian admits she bought into false Rittenhouse narrative. Okay. So I know that Kyle Rittenhouse is a guy who shot somebody, and there's disagreement over the circumstances of the shooting and, his culpability. It's about all I know. I'm not invested in this story. Anna Kasparian, a co-host of the popular progressive online news show The Young Turks, shockingly revealed last week that she was wrong about key facts concerning the case of Kyle Rittenhouse. This is a cold reading, by the way. Kasparian said she thought Rittenhouse first chased after Joseph Rosenbaum, sparking the incident that ended with the teen fatally shooting Rosenbaum. However, it was Rosenbaum who chased after Rittenhouse. Moreover, a gun was fired from a third party just seconds before Rittenhouse fatally shot Rosenbaum. Quote, I was wrong about that. Okay, so I want to correct the record. Close quote. Kasparian said on her news show, quote, look, these details matter because if you're going to make an argument that you acted in self-defense, there needs to be some proof that there was an imminent threat. Close quote. Rittenhouse's defense team is arguing the teen was acting in self-defense on August 25th, 2020, when he fatally shot two rioters and injured a third. Okay, by the way, this is the dailywire.com. I don't know what their slant is. In fact, before I go any further, let's see. Let's see what their bias is. There's the site I trust on this. All right. Considered to be far right. All righty. Quote, now, what really mattered to me was how all of this unfolded, she explained. What was the thing that sparked it? And what started all of it? And initially, I was under the assumption that Rittenhouse was the person who was chasing after Joseph Rosenbaum. That's how it started. But I was wrong about that. I was, in fact, wrong about that. And to show you the evidence to reinforce that I was wrong about that, I want to go to this video. Close quote. Kasparian then showed video of a combative Rosenbaum shouting, shoot me, before chasing after an unsuspecting Rittenhouse. As Rosenbaum gains on Rittenhouse and throws his bag filled with his belongings from his hospital stay the night before, a third party fires off a gunshot. That's when Rittenhouse turns and fires off 4 shots, fatally wounding Rosenbaum. Quote, so those details matter, right? Who was chasing who matters. The gunshots by some other identified person, that matters, especially if you're Rittenhouse and you're running away, and then you hear shots and then Rosenbaum lunges toward him, close quote. Kasparian sums up. As highlighted by the Daily Wire, it was revealed during trial last week that Rosenbaum was masked, I don't know why that's in quotes, when he chased Rittenhouse, and continued to pursue the teen despite Rittenhouse repeatedly yelling that he was friendly, again in quotes. Kenosha Police Detective Martin Howard confirmed. Howard was reviewing never-before-seen FBI infrared aerial surveillance footage for the court when defense asked him about Rittenhouse being pursued by Rosenbaum and the then 17-year-old's repeated yells of friendly. Those yells, however, did not, quote, dissuade Mr. Rosenbaum, correct? Close quote. Rittenhouse attorney Mark Richards asked Howard. Correct, the official responded. Last month, Kasparian had a discussion with Daily Wire editor Emeritus Ben Shapiro, headlining the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry's annual dinner. The progressive Politico caught heat for the discussion, but fiercely defended the exchange and ripped the left for platform scolding. I don't know what that means. The Daily Wire is one of America's fastest growing conservative media companies and countercultural outlets for news, opinion, and entertainment. Get inside it, blah, blah, blah. All right. Again, not a story I followed closely. I can't say I really have much context to plug this into. Hikani says, Daily Wire is Ben Shapiro, so hard right slant. Yeah. So maybe, Hikani, you can say what you thought I would take from this. I mean, I haven't drank the Blue Tribe Kool-Aid on Rittenhouse, so I don't really need to be deprogrammed. Anyway, let's close that. Let's go over here and check out this lovely tweet from Amy Siskind. Found this on Reddit, so we'll just go to Reddit for the original. Alrighty. Amy Siskind, pride flag, blue check mark, says, on that CNN clip about these so-called white suburban women, the narrative is complete bullshit. College-educated white women voted for McAuliffe by a bigger margin than Biden. Non-college educated, what the heck? Go away. Non-college educated white women gave it to Youngkin. And the reason is simple. Racism. They don't want progress. Yes, people who have not been to college don't want progress. Amy continues, I join others in being dismayed and disgusted by these women. I don't know how to reach non-college educated white women. The women I connect with and influence are college-educated white women. I am open to suggestions of ways of doing so ahead of 2022. Bring it. So she is disgusted, dismayed and disgusted by these non-college educated white women who voted differently than she wanted them to. She says she doesn't know how to connect with non-college educated white women. You know what? She absolutely does. You can focus on my pretty face now. She absolutely does know how to relate to non-college educated women, and that is as inferiors. She knows very well how to go to a salon or someplace where, you know, the professional managerial class women get pampered by working class women, and she knows how to interact with them as their social superior and the paying customer to whom they must pay automatic, continual deference. She's very comfortable with that relationship. I don't know her from Eve, but I know that she takes advantage of the economic situation in this country, which has the vast majority of people desperate and scrambling to get by. And, you know, how do you get by? You figure out what the people with money want, and you figure out how to give it to them and how to get them to choose you over somebody else. And if you're in service, well, you get them to choose you by being humble, obedient, expeditious, prompt, but, you know, most of all, basically just invisible. You know, just be there to provide for the professional managerial class, college-educated white women, and make them feel good, give them what they need without your ego intruding on their psychological space at all. They are very comfortable with that arrangement. She absolutely knows how to deal with non-college educated women. How to deal with them when they're not in your view and dependent on the money in your pocket or, you know, in your debit card or credit card. Well, yeah, that's a different situation. Then you might have to consider the point of view of the people that you want to persuade. You might then need to maybe listen to them. And I know that would be anathema, right? To listen to non-college educated people and hear what they have to say. God. All right. Hikani says, lefties like to claim we went out hunting rioters / black people. I just like the article had the annoying girl saying she was wrong. Well, you know, kudos to Anna Kasparian for being able to admit that she bought into bullshit, you know, because it was the bullshit that her tribe was pushing. That's what I like to call intellectual honesty. Good on you, Anna Kasparian. Now, is she annoying? I don't know, probably. I watched Young Turks briefly. I would go to a friend's house to watch it in 2016 when they championed Bernie Sanders, you know, in the primary contest against Hillary Clinton. I was all on board for that. I remember Jimmy Dore was a regular on the Young Turks at the time. He and the Young Turks are now, you know, mortal enemies. Jimmy Dore. Do I want to talk about Jimmy Dore? Probably not. All right. Boy, we got nobody in the chat. I didn't advertise that there was going to be a live stream. All right, well, let us then continue with some of the very amusing comments that people posted here on r/stupid poll. So, quoting Siskind, I don't know how to reach non-college educated white women. The women I can connect with and influence are college educated white women. I have never seen a self-own this bad in the history of politics. What even is this moron's job? What is she getting paid for? Well, you know, that's a good question. Amy Siskind, let's look her up. Well, she has an official website. Let's check it out. She's an activist, feminist, author, defender of democracy, activist for women's rights, college-educated women's rights, and advocate for the LGBTQ+ community. Amy Siskind is best known as the author of The Weekly List and as president of The New Agenda, a nonprofit dedicated to the advancement of women. What kind of women? Professional, middle class, or managerial class women. I'm sure she would not agree with that assessment. She is welcome to welcome to remain completely oblivious of the existence of this live stream. Alrighty. She's paid to fuel the superiority of the educated middle-class liberal woman. It's even funnier when you realize she is against free college. A fun little side story here is that college-educated minorities were actually more likely to support Youngkin than non-college-educated minorities. One of the worst humble brags I have ever seen. This is clearly a result of living in a bubble for too long. I genuinely thought these tweets were some sort of onion-like posts. I'm not from the States, and I had no idea who this Siskind lady was. Apparently, she was indeed genuine in her class hate. She looks like she's even an activist, she looks like she's a activist, feminist, and author. Let's see. What do we got here? It's really crazy that Loop's partisans will go through... Oh, it's really crazy the Loop's partisans will go through to justify why people don't listen to them. It's never, oh, they just have different priorities and I'm not likable enough. It's automatically, they're stupid and bigoted. Politicians in a democracy are supposed to represent their people. It's not the people's fault when you can't connect with them. Pretty much every class war issue of the last couple of years could be summed up as Democrats lean hard into elitism and authoritarianism as a substitute for attempting even the most cursory attempts to understand and level with regular people. I would remove one use of the word attempt in that sentence, but otherwise I agree. There's no point in that, because if she's even half qualified, she knows that the whole college-educated whites divide is marketing. The divide is largely explained by age rather than college education. Younger women are much more likely to vote Democrat, and younger women are much more likely to be college educated because college has become ubiquitous, at least for women. This applies to the larger trend as well when they discuss college-educated whites as a whole. The actual correlation is due to age. Older people went to college much less. Gender, women are much more likely to go to college. They use college as a stand-in for these demographic issues because it creates the false impression that education leads to liberal ideological values. Well, it depends what you study. I mean, if you're a liberal arts major, yeah, you're going to come out in SJW. But if you go and get a degree in chemical engineering, well, you're likely to come out with the same politics you went in with, or, maybe even shift to the right as you come to realize that you're going to make a heck of a lot more money than most of those liberal arts majors. And you'll probably want to keep it. Alrighty. Wow. This is one dead chat. What else can I say? Let's go back to, Patreon. We're on it. All right. So, Wikipedia. I used to give money to them. I no longer do. But they still ask. And typically when they ask, usually I just ignore the request, but sometimes I'll write a response like this one. In response to Wikipedia's latest fundraising email, as you know, dear Jimmy, as you know, I have supported Wikipedia with financial contributions in the past. I'm not a rich man, and the contributions were small. Your organization won't succeed or fail on the basis of my support. That said, I will not be supporting Wikipedia in any way until the organization acknowledges the editorial bias it has allowed to take root and describes the action it plans to take to correct the problem. Wikipedia entries that touch, even remotely, on culture war issues take a decidedly blue slant, and it is very ugly and mean-spirited. Really, until you fix this, I don't care if your organization lives or dies. It's useful on strictly factual matters, but the clear bias on display creates mistrust even on matters which don't seem like they have anything directly to do with the class/culture war that has gripped this country. At present, Wikipedia is a malevolent actor in this struggle. I wish you clarity of vision and conscience. And Gus writes, the case of Wikimedia Foundation having way more money than they know what to do with is pretty fascinating. It seems that their guilt trip approach combined with the site's usefulness is so effective that they actually can't stop themselves. I think at this point, the amount of money they have is surely a pernicious force rather than a useful safety net. So yeah, he linked here, and I'm not going to follow the link mainly because it's not a hot link. Wikipedia has got about $300 million that they're just sitting on. That's enough for them to operate without any additional new funding for many years to come. And yet they're regularly sending out emails talking as if that they're just about to pull the plug. It's almost over. Unless you come up with $20 today, that's it. The Republicans win and Wikipedia goes away. This is just like NPR. A few years ago, Joan Kroc, the widow of Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, and the inheritor of his fortune, because Ray was dead by that time, she bequeathed, I think, $200 million to NPR. And yet, NPR stations never miss a beat when it comes to, the pledge drives. It doesn't matter. If they have a successful fundraising formula that involves them pretending like they are at death's door and only you can save them at the last minute, it doesn't matter how much money they're sitting on. They're going to keep pimping that. They're going to keep rolling that out. All righty. Well, let's keep on scrolling. Getting a Pixel 6. Guess what? Here it is. My new Pixel 6. I'm still getting used to it. It's like having two left hands using this thing right now. It's a new version of Android. But I can tell. It's a much more powerful machine than the one I was using. I have a question, though. I've always had cheap cell phones. This is my first. I don't think this is considered a flagship. I got the 256 gigabyte storage variety, and it cost basically $700. So still, far south in price of, say, the newest iPhone or whatever, or the newest Samsung Galaxy Super Duper. And yet, do you see this? How shiny it is on the back here? This thing is covered in glass on the back. Why? Why would you put glass on the back of a cell phone? I don't get that. What is the purpose of that? It's just, I'm told it's resistant to cracks and such, but still, until I get the case, I'm going to be very nervous with this thing. And it's super slippery. Super slippery. Anyway, I'm uploading a video right now. It is 82% uploaded. It says about 10 minutes remaining, but it said that an hour ago. And then it went back down to 17% uploaded. I blame YouTube. I'm happy to blame Google when they're at fault, but in this instance, I'm thinking it's YouTube. All right. Well, hey, let's go back to the laptop. Here we are. This looks like a river, right? But it's actually a lake. It's in Cebu, which is where Rose lives, and she visited this place. She took these photos with her iPhone 6. So she's due for a new phone as well. Lovely. Look at that. There she is. Island in the Lake, Bar and Grill. Buswang Lake. All right. Well, I didn't prepare anything, any content for this live stream because I figured I would just riff off what people said in the comments, and there's nothing. Nothing. So, I suppose we can continue. Here's a longer. Check this out. Let's go back to the laptop. So again, this is the comments in response to I just can't relate to non-college educated white women. So someone who goes by the handle Resident Formal wrote, "At college, you learn that intersecting circumstances lead to systems of oppression encoded with meaning that support the dominant hegemony. As Judith Butler put it so succinctly, the move from a structuralist account in which capital is understood to structure social relations in relatively homologous ways, to a view of hegemony in which power relations are subject to repetition, convergence, and rearticulation brought the question of temporality into the thinking of structure and marked a shift from a form of Althusserian theory that takes structural totalities as theoretical objects to one in which the insights into the contingent possibility of structure inaugurate a renewed conception of hegemony as bound up with the contingent sites and strategies of the rearticulation of power." Wow. If that kind of language gets you hot, oh man, you should be in college. Because, when I was living in New York City, I used to go to a lot of events at the New School. And it was because they were free and they were usually catered. And there was, speeches and presentations that I could record. And if they were good, I would podcast them or, at least pieces of them. And I would also go to a lot of events at the Murphy Institute. And this was also, it was in Manhattan. And it was, funded by a large university, but it was away from the campus and it was just up on a high floor in some anonymous office building. And they would always have really, I was interested in labor, of course. I'm interested in how normal people make a living in these changing and rather brutal, cutthroat circumstances and times. And the Murphy Institute never failed to have presenters who had something relevant to say, something understandable to say, something just said in plain English. And it was always at the New School where I would get, I would go to something like every year there was a digital platform, what did they call it? It was basically a conference about the digital economy and, workers in the digital economy. That described me. I was a freelance podcaster. That's how I made my living. That was, that topic is of great interest to me. And I would go, I look at the various lists of presentations and I can only be at one at a time. So I would have to pick one. And I'd go and sometimes it would be, people doing something with tech or people who had organized workers in tech and had done something relevant, to my interests. And sometimes I get in there and even though the description of the event or of the presentation sounds relevant, I get in there and somebody gets behind the lectern and they start, spouting this garbage. And it pissed me off. Like before those experiences, I would just tune out this kind of talk. It was just meaningless jibber jabber and I didn't care about it. But if you're talking like this at an event which is supposed to be about how normal working people get by in the digital economy and you're talking this crap, then I get pissed off. Then you're not just jacking off in the corner, you're wasting my time. So just those experiences, 2 or 3 iterations of that happening to me, and that just turned me from indifferent to this, this kind of, I don't know what you call it, this kind of language. I was indifferent to it because it didn't affect me, but then people who claim to be speaking on behalf of digital workers or workers in a digital environment start talking like this bullshit. That pissed me off. I got really angry. Now, I didn't shout at anybody. I didn't corner anybody. I would from time to time, after somebody goes on in this vein for half an hour and then they're done, I would say, excuse me, Could you sum that up in regular English? And they never could. They never could. You know, it would just be another 5 minutes of sputtering more of this garbage. They never could just say what it was that they thought they had to contribute. So anyway, typically don't give the down arrow for anybody, but that one got the down arrow for me. I really hate that stuff. Alrighty. Occult Asteroid says, I swear the non-college educated women vote for numerous reasons, but the primary one being they think they're going to get a tax cut out of the deal. It isn't internalized racism, fucking obviously. They want $30 extra a paycheck, and the Democrats literally can't offer anything better. Is that entirely true? I don't know. But I do know that the Democrats, they seem to have utterly given up on trying to address the actual needs of the actual working class in this country. And, you know, they've got the numbers on the coasts with the, you know, our electoral system and the electoral college just having the numerical superiority, you know, in a few locations, but vast numerical superiority, you know, nationwide, doesn't give them the control that they need. But I think the Democrats are in the perfect position right now in that they've got just a very narrow majority in government, you know, in the legislature. And so the Republicans can still block them, which means they don't need to do anything. You know, the Democrats don't need to account for the fact that they had a majority and they just did nothing with it. Whereas if they had a clear, overwhelming majority and they still wouldn't do anything to help working people, you know, then they might have to answer for their inaction. So I think they're in hog heaven right now. They don't have to do anything because, you know, they can plausibly claim, oh, the evil, bad Republicans kept us from doing anything that might be helpful to you. All right. Normally I would object to this on aesthetic grounds. I hate the wall of text format. Carriage return, people, paragraph break. But anyway, this one's funny. Dear Subhuman Filth, I'm appealing to all of you stupid idiots to vote Democrat in the 2018, scratch that, 2022. That is, if you have the basic education enough to read a ballot anyway. I understand the majority of you racist rednecks can't even read this post, though. But those who can, please pass my message on to the rest of your inbred family. We Democrats are morally, culturally, and intellectually superior to you in every way. I will qualify myself by noting that I have a liberal arts degree from a college, which you obviously have never been to, if you even know what one is. I also have a black friend. I have been told by several professors that everything you hold dear is terrible. Therefore, you, personally, are also terrible. I don't know you, but I know you're racist. I also know you hate gay people and still get scared during lightning storms. The religion which you hold closely, greatly believe in, and which brings you comfort, you are wrong, because I'm smarter than you, and I'm telling you so. It is one of the many reasons why you are stupid, and I'm better than you. You see, us Democrats want a system that helps everyone in the world. Our system is designed around love and kindness to everyone. If you don't agree, I hate you. It's not too late to change. If you knew your history, which of course you don't, you'll remember a time in America when Indians were dragged away from their homes and forced to assimilate into white society. Well, we want to change that kind of behavior, sorry for my spelling, I'm not from your country, by making sure you go to college and have a small apartment in a big, busy coastal city where you belong. That will help you rid yourselves of your backward, incorrect culture and way of thinking. We'll do everything we can to make sure you agree with us and say all the right things and not be brainwashed against thinking the same way we do. All of you stupid, backward, redneck, racist, homophobic, uneducated yokels need to realize we're trying to build a classless society where we all get to live in harmony with each other. We're all equal. Where we're all equal. If you only understood that, you wouldn't be so much worse of a person than I am. Please vote Democrat. Help me help you, you worthless motherfuckers. Yeah, that gets the upvote. That seems... Oh, not today. Not for me, it doesn't. Alrighty. Back to the chat. We got anything? No, we got nothing. All right. Well, in that case, it is 6 p.m. We'll just do a half-hour live stream tonight. So, catch you later.